Sound check first.
All right.
Sound check first.
Gurra, tell me your name and what you had for breakfast today, please.
My name is Gurra Krantz, and I did not have a breakfast this day. And that's why I'm so slightly aggravated.
Great place to start. A slightly aggravated guest. Well, I didn't have breakfast either because I was late getting out the door. So we're on the same level.
Same level. Yeah. Adrenaline high, blood sugar low.
Exactly. Ahoy, shipmates. Welcome back to On the Wind. I'm your host, Andy Schell. I've been on hiatus for a few weeks as host. Been traveling in the USA, all over the place. I'm back in Sweden in mission control. It's November 21st as I record this, and it is blowing a blizzard outside. We don't have a ton of snow on the ground, but it is snowing sideways. It's cold. It was -4 Celsius when I took Axel to school this morning. It is proper winter. Just in time for me to head back to Portugal on Monday to go to Falcon and hang with Alex and Adam. And then the rest of the 59 North staff is coming down next weekend to do our first ever annual staff training. I'm super excited about that. Get everybody together in the same place at the same time. Can't wait to talk sailing and about the 2025 calendar. Really, really fun news that came out of this podcast. So I interviewed Gurra Krantz. He was on the podcast 4 years ago during COVID and actually came out to our house in the countryside to do the interview because like back then nobody was doing anything. It was like, all right, yeah, here's a chance. Let's get together and talk sailing. So if you haven't listened to that or haven't listened to it in a while, I encourage you to go back and listen to the first episode with Gurra Krantz back in sometime in 2020. He talks a lot about the Whitbread stuff back there. It's a really fun episode. Anyway, I go back to Stockholm. Gurra now owns a marina in Stockholm. And I went there to interview him this time. And we're talking about this TV show and, this Över Atlanten TV show. It's a big hit here. They basically do the exact same thing that we do at 59 North, but with celebrities. And afterwards, it turns out that Gurra owns the boat that they use for the TV show. It's a Swan 651 that's been modified to 70 feet. And we're talking during the interview, and then kind of after we wrapped up, I'm like, so, hey, they do this show from the Canaries to St. Martin. I said, how do you get the boat back? Or like, what do you do afterwards? He's like, I deliver it back with my delivery crew. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Said, Falcon's going to be in the Pacific for 2 more years. And we've got a long waiting list of people that would like to sail across the Atlantic. What do you think about us using Adrienne as the name of the boat? To instead of you delivering it back, we bring it back and run 59 North trips on it. And he's like, that sounds like a great idea. So I have been sort of behind the scenes sneakily planning this, and now I'm finally able to announce it publicly that we are officially chartering Adrienne, this Swan 70, sailing it from St. Martin back to the Canary Islands in February. It's already fully booked. I've done all this behind the scenes. But if this goes well, and I fully think it will, it's the perfect opportunity. Then we're going to make this a semi-regular occurrence, and we might even have a second transatlantic on Adrienne later in the year, sometime in August or September of 2025, but we can't confirm that just yet. So stay tuned. We've now put it on the website. You can read the whole backstory there. But very exciting opportunity. Skipper Eric Nordborg, who has worked for us for several years now and also is based in Sweden, is going to be the skipper. And then Tim Danielson, new for 59 North, he's going to be the first mate. He's worked for Gurra and sailed Adrienne back and forth across the Atlantic several times with the TV show. And Mia and I actually met Tim back in 2014, before 59 North even existed. We had gotten invited to a press event with Team SCA, who were doing the Volvo race at the time. And Tim and this other guy, Thomas Blixt, were in charge of running the press boat, which is TP52 up in New York City. So we went out for a day sail with them. And it was funny because all the other press on the boat that day, we actually got invited by a friend of mine who works for NPR. He's like, hey, do you want to come along? You might think this is interesting. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. So we went up to New York City, did this, but all the other press on the boat, they were like non-sailors. So everyone was and it was a brisk, windy fall day. So it was pretty, real sailing on a fast boat. And everyone was kind of like, oh no, I don't want to drive. I don't want to touch anything, whatever. So Mia and I were like, well, hell yeah, let's do it. So like we ended up sailing the boat with Tim and Thomas while the press just kind of like talked to people and huddled in the corner. So it was a really fun day in New York City. And like now 10 years later, I had lunch with Tim the other day to talk about the 59 North trip. And here we are. This whole offshore sailing scene is a very small world. And I love these kind of serendipitous coincidences. So really excited to be sailing Gurra's boat back across the Atlantic with Tim and Eric and the crew that's joining us. And if you want to do it as well later in the year, stay tuned. We'll have more information for that when it comes out. All right, that's enough rambling for me. Enjoy today's episode, and until next week, hold fast. On the Wind is presented by our good friends Forbes Yachts. Go to FORBES, ForbesYachts.com to check out the listings that he has and to get in touch to buy or sell your dream boat. Fun connection. I'm recording this ad from my friend Adam's Beneteau 373, which he bought through Forbes. And actually, Adam is the reason that we know Forbes. Way back in the day, this must be like 2006 or 7, Forbes was working for another brokerage in Annapolis that my dad had used for many years buying and selling his boats. And this guy, my friend Adam, who I've grown up with, he's a lifelong friend of mine. We've known each other literally our whole lives. We got in touch and said, hey, Adam wants to buy a boat. Back then, he was looking at cheaper boats. And this other broker said, hey, talk to my sort of colleague Forbes here, who just started working for us. And that's how we got in touch with Forbes. Forbes helped Adam buy his first boat, which was a Tartan 37 Classic. And now here we are, probably 20 years, almost 20 years later, and Forbes just helped Adam buy his current family boat. He's got 2 kids now, and I'm helping him take it down the ICW. So Forbes has become not just a sponsor of the show, but a good friend of ours, and it's always fun to see him. In fact, I'm sitting on the boat in Jabin's right in front of Forbes' office, so I hope to get to see him this weekend. But if you're trying to buy or sell your dream boat, please get in touch with Forbes. He's the real deal. He's a real sailor himself, and he's no bullshit yacht broker, which is a rare thing. So check out ForbesYachts.com. That's FORBES, ForbesYachts.com. And thanks again to Forbes for sponsoring the show. On the Wind is also presented by SailTies. SailTies is a free app that makes it easy to record all of your sailing experience in one place. A digital record of all your voyages, certificates, crew, vessels, and clubs. No more adding up miles in a paper book that can be easily lost. With just 2 taps, SailTies generates a beautiful memory of each trip that is fun to share with family and friends. We've partnered with SailTies, and they have ingested all of the data from the history of 59 North. That's over 130,000 miles that we've sailed, and now have put them up as SailTies trips. I am about to send all that out to our crew that have sailed with us, and they'll be able to claim those voyages and add it to the 59 North group that we've created. I am personally really excited about this app. I put these guys off for 2 years. They've been trying to get in touch with me to help them grow it. I finally had a call with them. Chris and Tom, the founders, are awesome people. I love the concept, and now I'm trying to help it get better. And it's been really fun partnering with them. So you should check this out. SailTies is free to use with an optional SailTies Plus subscription to unlock even more from your voyages, including automatic historic weather data and grouping voyages into collections. There's going to be a lot more to come between 59 North and SailTies, so stay tuned. And in the meantime, download the app, check it out. And if you are a crew member with 59 North, past, present, or future, stay tuned. You'll hear from me shortly to get all those past claimed voyages up there. Go to sailties.net, that's SailTies.net, or download it in the Android or iOS app stores. You're listening to On the Wind, my podcast about offshore sailing. I'm your host, Andy Schell. Gurra Krantz returns to the podcast to talk to me about life after the Whitbread Race. What do you do after sailing 4 laps around the globe at the highest level of the sport? Lots, apparently. Gurra talks about his involvement in the hugely popular Swedish TV series Över Atlanten, about his lack of philosophy when racing offshore, motorboating, marina ownership in Stockholm, and much more. All right, we might as well pick up right where we left off mic. You were telling me about the marina and all this stuff here. You said something about it's the first normal job you've ever had.
Yes.
So why don't you start by just where are we and what's the context of that comment?
We're outside Stockholm, Lidingö, Gåshaga. It's an area, and I presently own and run Gåshaga Marina. And we have like a full-service site with berths in the water, and also winter storage, primarily for bigger boats, big power boats. 75% power boats, 25% sailing boats.
Okay, is that on purpose?
That's on purpose. I know too much about sailing boats. The company, when I bought it 5 years ago, it was actually set up that way, and it's a reasonable percentage.
So why do you need to do why do you need to do something like this? Was this just for fun? Is this like, I mean, you've done so many things, and here you are owning a marina now.
I did say somewhat, this. I'm so old.
How old are you?
I'm turning 70 next year.
Okay, you're younger than my dad, so that's you're a young guy.
You're just a kid.
Yeah.
Now, I said to myself, I need a normal job before I go. And since I'm so old, I had to buy myself a job. Nobody wants me. That's how it is. And it was just a flyby. I grabbed it in the run. It was an opportunity. Was not planned. There was no childhood dream or anything like that. It was just, okay, here it is. Why not?
You said that was 5 years ago?
5 years ago.
And how has that, are you happy you did it?
Oh, extremely happy I did it. A lot of fun.
For the money, or just you having fun, or both?
Both.
Yeah.
It's always a good combination.
Yeah.
We are doing well. Our numbers are good. I have a lot of fun. And it's a good combination with other things I do, such as presentations and this TV show with the Over Atlantic. It's a good combination. A
good variety.
Yeah. So I say normally I work 100% at the marina, 30% at the TV show, and 30% for the with presentations. So
160% if you add those up. Hey.
Yeah, that's how it is.
I pulled in here, and before we met out in the parking lot, I saw a big race boat down here that had Annapolis on the stern, and the boat's called Ramrod. I mean, there's been several Ramrods. That used to belong to Bert Jabins, who owns Jabins Marina in Annapolis.
Okay.
Why is that boat sitting in your parking lot?
That boat arrived last week, and it's a friend of mine who called me and said, "Hey, I have a boat coming in. Can you help us out?" And I said, "Sure, absolutely." And here it is. That's how it goes. Very simple. It's not complicated in any way, and they need help. They want to prepare themselves for a race, invitational race in the States during this upcoming winter. And instead of flying back and forth and getting the opportunities to train over there, they said, we might as well buy a boat and train here and then go across.
So they bought the boat in Annapolis and stuck it on a ship?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it?
What is it?
Yeah.
It's an IC37. It's a Melius design and a one design class. Also geared up for our ORC racing. So it has two setups, one design and ORC. And you know how it is to win the ORC. You need to be very slow on paper and fast on the water. So that's why it has two different setups.
Do you still race?
Very little. I rarely do it because I know what it takes, and I only want to have fun. And since that is a decision, I only race with the Commodore of the KSSS, Patrick Salén, and his absolutely crazy family. And it's a lot of fun, only fun. But we do race a lot with that old wooden 65-foot boat.
Do you care about winning?
Of course.
Where does the fun and like we both raced Gotland Runt. I didn't get to say hi to you, and we both I think you passed us coming in after we both quit the race. So how did that feel?
It felt good because we almost had the rig coming down.
Shit. So
it was a very wise and good decision to call it a day.
Were you the one that made that decision?
No, I have always a skipper owner making the decision,
yeah.
But of course there might be some influence from us elderly who has done it before. And
what happened?
Actually, the caps, the V1s, came loose at the bottom spreader. It was a fork from the turnbuckle that opened up. It was a split pin that gave way, and then all of a sudden, we had this whole rig dangling around. We managed to get it back on, actually, out on the water.
Who did that?
Was the youngest guy, of course, being up there, and climbing and banging, crashing around in the rig. And we had a big vice grip to clamp it back together and, turning, getting the pin in and new split pin and got it back on, and then you carefully set it all up. Main was already still up, and then we hoisted a small Genoa, and we leaned her over, and we said, this is not good. This is not good. Tacked over, and we said, F-U-C-K. This is not good on that tack either. So let's call it a day. Luckily, we did that because the mast was completely cut in two pieces. It was just, staying on top of each other because of the very thick aluminium goods in the profile. Had it been a normal mast, not this old style aluminium thick as a brick section, it would have fallen down.
So the mast was actually, and you didn't know that at the time, or you didn't?
No, we didn't know that.
Holy crap.
We just saw a hairline crack around it, and then once it was taken apart, it was in two parts.
Oh my
Simple
gosh.
as that.
And that was caused when so let me just see if I get this right. You, on the lower spreader, discontinuous rigging.
Yes.
So the actual lower part disconnected from the lower spreader.
The midsection. The
midsection disconnected.
From the bottom spreader and up.
So basically, you had nothing on the caps from the bottom spreader up.
And that was the weather. So the guys
Jesus.
at the helm, they did a fantastic job saving the whole thing because they just slam-tacked the boat.
Wow.
When it's all, and tacked.
Well, describe, because it was pretty gnarly at the start. So describe what the conditions were like when this all happened.
I think it was like 15 to 20 knots upwind.
Yeah.
We were not even up to Svenska Björn.
Yeah.
On the way up there, going well, and we felt like this is us, and then all of a sudden, hello,
man, that is. So when did you find out that the mast was? You didn't find out, like, did they? I mean, that was only the early part of the sailing season here. So did they sail the rest of the season like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
The owner Patrick did a marvelous job to get it back together again because he has some guys to. Taking care of the boat, and they had all the connections, and the mast was down within a week and was up within the next week.
Wow.
And they welded it all together, and when they took it apart, actually when we came back to Sandhamn, the daughter of Patrick went up the mast and said, that hairline crack is going all the way around the mast.
Shit.
All right, so it looks like it's off, it's cut in two pieces, which it was. Wow. So once the boat came into Stockholm to their Djurgården boat yard, mast was taken down and it was in two pieces.
Man.
So they grinded away all the bits and pieces that needed grinding, and then they welded it back together again, and up she went, no problem.
So how do you, like, in the big picture, because you've raced your whole career and obviously stuff like that happens, how do you sort of debrief something like that, and how do you personally handle, like, the disappointment and all the rest of that? What's the fallout from that, from something like that? I know in this case it was more for fun and you'll be back next year, but just in general, how do you, as a leader, sort of handle those situations?
When we dropped the mast on SEB during the Volvo Ocean race, it was, it was really, really bad in the Southern Ocean. -degrees in the water and in the air, snowing and pitch black in the middle of the night, and waves are crazy high and wind speeds between 44 and 48 knots going downwind with the spinnaker and the one reef in the main. Just hell on earth, really, really hell on earth. And then we did a Chinese jibe. We still call it a Chinese jibe. I hope nobody gets offended, but that's what it's called. And ended up in a very tricky situation. And the D2s being loaded up like that, the D2s breaks very often, and so did in this case as well. And we lost the mast overboard. So we had 4 meters left of 28. And in that sequence, I knew that two guys will try to disconnect themselves in order to try to save the boat, to ease and pull a rope, and that those 8 seconds before the head count was complete, those are the most horrible seconds in my life. And how do you debrief from that? Very little. Everybody knows. We all knew how close it was, and I did disappoint myself after a couple of years by thinking and saying and concluding that I wasn't really 100% on the debrief with the guy who was at the helm at the time, because it's such a team effort and you don't point at anybody. It was two clouds that joined together and gave us a wind puff that we just couldn't control in those waves. 1 second. Yes, sir. På till Ramrod, till den här ute. Alltså, om man vill ta det. Ja, vad ska vi med det till? Ja. Låt han ta det. Men säg att han kan väl ha någonting i bakfickan åt oss. Han får den där. Sorry, I'm back.
That's okay.
So I should have maybe spent more time individually with that person being at the helm at the time. And a few years back we met in Auckland. He's a Kiwi. And I had a chance to talk to him about that situation. And he said he was fine. Everybody knows how that there is no way going forward pointing a finger at a particular person, because nobody made a mistake. The only mistake we all made as a group was to be there.
So you're saying you felt maybe guilty, that you felt like he may have taken the blame, or what?
Yes.
Why is that why you felt you needed to spend more time with him, so that he didn't feel like it was his fault? Or
that was my thought. And it's for me as a skipper to take the blame. For him to be excused because he did everything he could wasn't enough.
Yeah,
that's a whole different story. That's a whole different discussion. But he was okay, and that made me feel. But I still had that thorn. I should have done it earlier. I should have done it directly. But we did have a group debrief, but I never spent time with him as much as I, in my aftermath, thought I had to do.
Well, on the other side of that, what is like how do you even debrief a situation like that? Because you're talking about like at the highest level, at some point you're racing in those conditions, things are gonna happen because you're riding that edge so closely. Like you said, it was kind of out of everyone's control. How do you even do a debrief in that case? You don't. How do you brief that? How do you prepare everybody for that in the first place?
The preparation is done before we start the race. Everybody has to understand what racing in the Southern Ocean is like, and everybody comes back after the first encounter with the Southern Ocean that nobody can prepare for this by listening to others. Even if I tell them exactly how it is, they don't believe. Deep down, they don't believe it's going to be that bad, and that bad is half as bad as it is in reality. So we try to educate, and I made the same mistake. I thought it was -10, but it was -40. and when you come back from that first experience, you can see in the eyes, the way people look at things, the people talk to each other. They've been there, done that. Whole different ball game in how to talk to people, how to be they're less arrogant, less everything. Very humble people coming back with a lot of drive. Don't forget that, lot of drive.
What do you mean by that?
They don't want to be beaten by the Southern Ocean, but they understand, and we understand one thing, which is the most important thing. As a team, we can win. But if we think we can do it alone, forget it. And that's the biggest learning we take with us. It's only the team effort that can make us survive and then get a result.
Do you miss that?
If I miss it, yeah, at times I do. But on the other hand, I think it's a dream that will never come true. That you think you can compete when you're 70 with the guys that are 35, and as good or better and physically, those days are gone. Just realize it. So it's a blessing to have been there, being able to do that for so many years. It's also a blessing to say, okay, those days are over. Fun. Now I compete with myself every day here at the marina.
What's your take on sort of how you were there from Whitbread days to Volvo days to it's sort of now evolved. The Volvo it's now just the ocean race. Now they're doing it on IMOCAs. Do you have a take on how that has evolved? Do you care?
I do care, and I like the development, and I like the development within the America's Cup as well. It is technically on a much, much, much higher level than before. The people are better prepared. There's more structure. You can measure things. You don't go by feeling. You go by feeling as well, but it has to be compared with the numbers. And I like that structure in the sport, because you can always go back and say, okay, why did this happen? Have we got the right numbers? Are we sailing on 96% as we should in these waves and that temperature of the air? And that structure is going more and more into the same as the F1 circus has. Everything is measurable, and then you can start developing the sport properly, and that's where sailing is heading now, and I really like it.
So you like the technical aspect of it, the nerdiness of it, all the high end stuff? Absolutely.
That's how it should be.
Have you sailed those boats?
The new America's Cup boats,
or the IMOCAs, any of the foiling boats? Have you sailed on the?
No, I haven't.
Do you want to?
It would be fun.
Yeah,
it would be fun. But those boats are not there to make me happy. They are production tools for these projects, and I like it. I think sailing should be there, because if you don't have like a leading star within the sport, technically and on the personal side, there is no wide base of people trying to get there.
Is there someone or a person or a team that you follow, that you root for?
No, not necessarily.
So on the other side of that, what do you think of the sort of the old school stuff that's happening? The OG. I think the last time we talked, we were supposed to be doing the OGR, this round the world in old boats like your Swan. That we bagged that, thankfully. But what are your? Do you have any thoughts on that side of things? Because that's kind of like Don McIntyre's whole thing is that's a counter to exactly what you're talking about. It's like, no, actually, we're going to take all the technical stuff out of it and just make it about the people and the stories behind that.
Yeah, but even with the tech side present, it's all about the people and the stories there, because it's just on a different level. I do not have much time for that romantic side of sailing. It has been my job, basically all my life, to go racing, and when I go on the water privately, I use a powerboat.
Really?
Yeah, I don't sail privately. It's not much fun. Competing is fantastic. No other sport in my book can measure up against sailing in terms of complexity, and that's the challenge. That's the fun part of trying to master it. So, but this out sailing for fun and fantastic environment, maybe not me.
Really? So that's really interesting. So you just are you bored? Do you find it just dull? Why don't you like it?
If I'm a bit arrogant, I should say that sailing is the slowest and dumbest way to go from A to B.
Well, it's not untrue.
and the boat heels over, things has to go up and down, and you can't put the glass next to you, it falls over. And it's not a smart way of transporting yourself. But again, the competing part is unbelievably complicated and fun. But if I go on the water to relax with my family, of course we go with a powerboat. Much simpler.
Because you're trying to get somewhere and it's not, because sailors romantically would say, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey and all that. Whereas my take on motorboaters, it's like, well, I want to get to that island so I can have a picnic.
Yeah.
That's what it's about for you?
Yeah.
But you have a slow motorboat.
Slow and fast.
Okay, fair.
We spent 116 days sleeping on that boat last year.
Which one? The Grand Banks?
On the Grand Banks, yeah.
Wow.
So it's almost like a summer home for us.
Yeah.
And it's more in close vicinity of the marina. Not in our own marina. It's too expensive. I can't afford it here. And it's in a neighboring boat club. And it's just a short walk from the restaurant. We can eat well and have a glass of wine and not worry about driving and anything. It's perfect.
But you have to. I have a hard time believing that you spent how many miles in the Southern Ocean. You have to have had some philosophical moments of epiphany there, just being in that natural setting. No?
Most likely. I just cannot identify them.
Yeah.
It's all about the team effort.
Yeah.
And to finish first you have to finish. A very simple rule.
Yeah.
And the surviving part, and then once you survived, starting to look at the result and gearing yourself up and measuring yourself against the top guys in the world is fun. It's fantastic. But the romantic side, not so present.
It's so you're probably the first person I think. Like, I appreciate your honesty with that, because I feel like most people at least talk somewhat romantically about it. I think you're the first person. I've done almost 450 episodes of this podcast. You might be the first person that's just said, "Nah, that's not what I'm here for." I think that's pretty cool, actually.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
But so this is a perfect segue, I guess, because the last time we spent a lot of time talking about your Volvo, Whitbread, Southern Ocean career, and now when you do go sailing, it's for Över Atlanten, which is completely different. Like, that's not racing, that's not cruising, that's somewhere in between. So how do you reconcile with what you just told me there with now you're on a reality TV show that has kind of zero stakes? It's not cruising or racing. It's like, how did that come together, A, and how do you reconcile that with your attitude?
First of all, I said no when they asked. It was a question came through a guy I know in the TV world, since he was involved in some of our projects, and said, no, not a chance. Why? Never, ever. And then start to think about it. It's a challenge, and I was quite curious about myself. Can I muster the patience and do it? Can I take a step back and instead of pushing it, can I take a step back and say, hey, slow down, guys. We need time to set all this up. So there was a challenge to see if I can have it, And I can tell you, had I not done the first season with Over Atlantic, I would never ever have bought the marina. How
is that connected?
Because here I can't rush things the way I normally do. I have to pay attention to totally different details. So it's a challenge. So that when I found myself being able to take a step back, relax, okay, you do this and you do that, and instruct people that has no previous knowledge, I felt like, wow, here it is. This is what I'm looking for. It's a challenge. I can compete with myself. I can compete and see how well I can develop these people during the trip over the Atlantic. Lots of challenges, and it's the first time. The first time is the first time. And then I set myself up for the second time. I said, it's the first time I do it the second time. And I kept going, and it has been so fun, a lot of fun. And without fun, no chance.
Yeah.
And the TV people are get up and go guys, all of them, and it's a lot of fun. It's challenges every day.
So how did it evolve? The first season, because as I understand it now, it's you actually use your boat for the show, but that wasn't the case when it started.
No.
So what was the situation?
We had a really bad boat on the fourth season. They really cynical TV people said, makes good TV. Everything broke, and it was not prepared. And the production company rented the boat. And I had a look.
What kind of boat was it?
It was Swan 601, skinny, slippery one.
Yeah.
And I had a look at it in Marseille, and I said, this, we can use this one. I looked around, and then we made a long list, and all that list was ticked off. And once they delivered the boat to Canary Islands 5 days too late, without any communication, none of it was done.
Oh, no.
and it was a shit fight. Excuse me.
You're allowed to swear on here. It's fine.
Pardon my French.
Yeah.
It was a shit fight to get the boat across. It did make quite good TV, and it did develop the people on board in a certain way that was quite exciting. But then I said, we can't repair ourselves across the pond. You know, the credibility of this whole thing setup is going down the drain.
Well, yeah, it makes you look bad too.
And that too.
Yeah.
And that too. So I said, okay, let's find a boat, Swan 66, the same type of boat we had the second season. It's perfect for this. We need 2 entrances because, you know, if you're in the back of the boat and you start a fire in the middle of the boat where the galley very often is, you have no way to get out. So that set up, big cockpit, 2 entrances, and 66 big enough to do it and host 13 people on board. And they found one, and all of a sudden, after down payment was paid, all the paperwork was signed, the owner pulled out 1 month before we're supposed to leave.
The guy, so he decided not to sell it to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not sell it, to rent it to
okay.
And it was a lot of bad mouthing back and forth, but anyway. So there we are. The woman in charge of all the agreements at Mastiff, the production company, called me that Thursday afternoon and said, Gurra, we don't have a boat. And I thought, F-U-C-K again. Fuck.
And you had all the the celebrities and stuff lined up. Everyone's like ready to go sailing.
Yeah, they are contracted by Mastiff.
Yeah.
So I have no say in.
Right, but it was everything's set up. Yeah,
everything was set up. I thought, okay, I can sit down and wait for them to fix it, or I can do something. My friend Ove, he has a Swan 651 that is extended and upgraded, really good carbon fiber mast and a new keel and all that. So I called Ove and said, hey Ove, are you going to sell your boat? You did talk about it earlier. Yeah, I think it's going to be me selling the boat this year. Okay, I'll drive across and meet you in half an hour. No, you can't come over. I have a dinner. I don't care. I said, I just slammed the phone down, came over to him. And 9:30 that evening, we had a shot and celebrated the agreement.
Wow!
And that's how it is.
Why did you have to step in and buy it yourself, or was that part of the deal?
No. It was no part of the deal at all. It's just the only way to save that situation, to start looking for another boat to rent.
Yeah,
it's going to take really a long time.
Yeah.
And we knew the market was very skinny. And that was basically one of the very few boats that was available.
Well, plus a lot of those old Swans are like you said, they're not ready to do that sort of thing if they've not been maintained or been sitting in the med for a while. They require, and this one, it sounds like, was more ready to go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we it was in Cartagena, so I scrambled a group of guys because I couldn't go and sail it to Canary Islands. They took that boat to Canary Islands, and then we sail across 1 month later.
Wow. And so it's funny because, we had Falcon. We have a FAR 65 for our business now. It's a new boat since I talked to you last. And we were we had the boat up at Varv, the boat show a few weeks ago. And people always, especially here in Sweden, everybody watches that show, especially if you're a sailor. Everyone watches that show. And then, for us, it's a great way to describe to Swedes. Like, people ask, what is our business? It's like, well, have you seen Över Atlanten? Yes. It's like, we basically do that, but without celebrities.
Wow.
Because it's so, but people always say, like, so does stuff break so much on your trips? I was like, well, no, we try to avoid that. But, I've watched the first season, but I haven't kept up with it since then. So it sounds like you've gotten some of that under control. But how do you make that? Because, like, I always joke, if we did it on our boats, it would be a very boring TV show because we try very, very hard not to have anything go wrong because we've got a trip after that and a trip after that and a trip after that. So how do you find the balance? How do you create the drama, I guess, is the question.
We don't create any drama. Yeah. It creates itself. I said, trust the format.
Yeah.
Take a boat, put some people inside it or on it, and then leave the dock. Things will happen. And particularly if you have a rented boat with no previous history and no attachment to, then you have no idea basically how they prepared it and what stage it is, and that makes especially when you change a user, things happen. It's like lending somebody your old car. They drive it differently, things will break and so forth. But now we have had, even though we use my boat, we have had quite interesting seasons because we're 13 on board. Everything is going on max. Water maker, engines, and it's a totally different situation. And but we do not stage things. So the accumulated chain of events might look quite high. Should that much stuff break? And it does if you haven't prepared yourself. If you have a boat just showing up a few days before you go and all that.
And what's the, like, I talked to Christopher Appelqvist earlier this summer because he was on the was it last year?
This season we sent
the one that's coming, that's going to
this broadcast
be on
now.
TV. Yeah. Is it out? Is it out now?
Yeah.
And he said it was interesting that part of the way the TV production company makes the drama is like everyone had to give up their phones, couldn't even listen to music and stuff. They have a microphone on them all the time.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like before they go on watch, make sure the batteries are changed. And it just forces people to interact with one another.
Yes.
And
I take the phones.
You do? I was going to ask, are you subject to the same requirements?
No. I'm the one that put that rule in place.
Okay.
Yeah. No phones.
Okay. Why?
No earplugs, no music, nothing. They have to. One is a safety thing because I have to be able to reach them verbally. Now, not later when they unplug or whatever they do. It has to be. They have to be able to hear if we yell "man overboard" or everybody abandon boat or whatever it is. Extreme cases. We have to be able to reach them.
Yeah. And
also, if they have their phone with the pictures, they don't let go.
Yeah. They
have to be here and now, present.
Yep.
And the only way to achieve that is to disconnect the normal society.
How do they, or do you have any say in who comes on the boat?
No, I have no say in who comes on the boat, although I have mentioned to the production company that there are 4 names, which I haven't told them, but if one or all 4 of those come as part of the crew, I step off.
And I guess you're not going to tell me those names now, are you?
No. But one of my best friends, he nailed them all 4 in the first attempt.
Because he knows you so well.
He knows me well, and he knows I hate arrogant people. And he just ding, 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 all 4 of them.
Interesting. But and the production company still doesn't know this?
No, they don't know who. They know that there are names, but not who they are.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty interesting. We have a similar thing. We have a secret DNAB list, do not allow back, people that have sailed. And it's very, very short list. But customers that if they are of a certain way, it's like, no, sorry, there's no trips available for you anymore.
One-way ticket.
Yeah, exactly. And what do people expect? What I'm getting at, I guess, where I want to go with this question is, Christopher told me that Peter Forsberg, who has obviously he's Swedish, but he played for the Flyers, and I'm from Philadelphia, so he was like we were huge Forsberg fans. Obviously, played for the Avalanche as well. But Christopher said that it seemed like his expectation of what was happening versus the reality was very far apart. Do you have anything to say about that?
Not really. Most people experience that difference.
That they what they think they're getting into is vastly different than what it actually is. How so specifically?
The living conditions on board, the lack of sleep, sleep deprivation.
Yeah,
doesn't kill you, but it really changes brutal, your mood.
Yeah,
and the rhythm of the day, the heat when we go to Rio, it's a challenge. If you're not used to handle yourself in an extreme situation, it bothers you, and you have to be a bit Japanese. It's just a feeling, nothing else. Don't worry about it. And if you're not used to do that, then it can really, really grind you down after a while with this the heat and lack of sleep and or the daily rhythm itself.
How do you run the watch schedules?
We have a very simple watch system. 2 watches, including the watch captain, which I provide. who I provide. The 4 in each watch. We got 4 in the TV crew, and I'm off watch.
Yeah.
So they go nighttime 4 on, 4 off, and daytime 6 on, 6 off.
It's exactly the same way we do it. Yeah.
And it's simple because first of all you rotate the nights, which is good.
Yeah.
And also you have long enough day watches so you can actually interact with each other. You eat breakfast together, you eat lunch together, and you eat dinner together, and you don't experience any lack of sleep during the daytime. At least you have a time to sit and have a chat and interact and be up early and just help out and whatever. So
yeah, I felt that like that 6 hours as well gives you a chance when you're off those 6 hours, you can actually kind of recover.
Yeah.
If you get a solid 6 hours of rest, you get better rested than if it was 4 all the time.
Yeah.
How do you handle like you said, the heat? Because that's actually been a thing we've debated because we don't have any shade at all on the we have a Dodger over the companionway. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that ever an issue?
That is an issue, absolutely. For some people, a really bad issue. Others, they understand it's tough, but they cope with it. The only thing we can do is to make sure they protect themselves with hats, and they drink a lot.
And you have same thing, no bimini or anything?
We have biminis.
You do have bimini, okay.
We do have bimini. But inside the boat, when the water is 32 degrees.
It's hot as hell,
we try to keep them a bit distracted as much as we can. And we also want them to be alive nighttime because then it's cooler.
Yeah.
The 12 to 4 watch, if it's just two sail reaching, nothing happens. The eyelids are getting very heavy. So then you need the watch captain or myself or one in the team to have a funny story to tell, to interact. You want popcorn? I make you a sandwich. Just do something. The way we explain that is before we leave, that what do you do when you want a cup of coffee, when you feel coffee would be nice? What's the first thing you do? I ask them. I go and brew coffee. No, you don't brew coffee. You ask everybody else if they want coffee. And that's the first implementation of, you have to project your own needs on other people and start interacting and be a contributor and all that, which then at nighttime after 10 days at sea is crucial, that you give more than you get.
Yeah. That's so interesting. We watched the first season, and when you were given the safety briefings and stuff in Las Palmas before getting on the boat or wherever you were in the Canaries, it's like verbatim. The things that you were telling people is almost verbatim the things that we brief the people. This same thing, and it's kind of, obviously we're doing the same thing, but I was just taken aback by that. Like, oh my gosh, like this is actually like word for word. It's just he's talking to a group of celebrities. What is that like? What is that like for you? Like observing all these, because all these people have to have huge personalities.
Some more than others.
You get a front row seat to see that. What is that like for you?
And that's part of the fun for me, to experience these people in my backyard.
Yeah.
I'm on top of them.
Right.
Yeah. But then I have the utmost respect for most of them. Others more than the next one. But the fun thing is to see that there is a reason for them to be successful.
What do you mean by that?
If they have a problem, if they have an issue, they start scanning, how can I get past this? How can I improve? How can I? And all of a sudden, there it is. And then they just nail it in that area to feel better, to eat better, to sleep better, whatever they do. They are in 9.5 times out of 10 very active to improve. And that's why they're good in what they do.
I never thought about that way before, where you basically have a front row seat to see why people are successful. Like you could really distill that down to, okay, what makes these people successful? Because they're all success, like you said, they're all very successful people.
Yes, they are. Take Foppa, Forsberg. He's not the most energetic guy. Sitting around and quite slow, and all of a sudden we have a helming competition. You see that laser? Totally different personality that steps in behind the wheel and start sailing the boat.
Because now he's competitive.
Now he's in his zone, you know. He's competitive.
Did
he wants
win?
to win. Of course he won.
What was the competition?
Steering us long, steering the furthest within 5 minutes.
Okay.
And they have to be within 15 degrees up or 15 degrees down. And if they are outside that range, they get a penalty. And of course he won.
That's awesome.
Maybe I'm, telling you a secret now, but it will be in a program in the near future. It hasn't been broadcasted yet, that competition.
Yeah, well, this isn't live or anything, so we'll see when it comes out. But so how do you manage the actual sailing of the boat when you've got all these big personalities, none of whom, Christopher Appelquist, he's a sailor, but most of whom aren't really sailors, and you've got a 70-foot boat. Presumably you're flying kites and you're doing lots of sail changes, and how do you deal with that?
Two really good and experienced watch captains.
Yeah,
that can drive that, because I can't be up all the time.
Sure, yeah.
And we take it, and that's what I started with. Have I got the patience to take a step back? If it takes 2 hours to hoist a kite, it takes 2 hours to hoist a kite. Next time we do it in 150. We might be down to 25 minutes at the end of the trip. Huge success.
Yeah,
and maybe it takes some mellowing through being older to accept that. I don't know.
But like, how hard are you pushing it? Are you just like going for it all the time? Are you doing peels and stuff, or how hard are you pushing the crews in those conditions?
Let's say in the beginning we sail the boat on 65 to 75% of its capacity. At the end we're above 85, between 85 and 90.
Yeah,
we do make sail changes, but we don't peel. We take one down and put the next one up.
How are you flying symmetric kites with a pole?
No, I took that off.
Okay,
so only Janak.
Because it's too sketchy, or
how often do you do that? We could use it because we go gull wing and with a pole and Genoa. We need at least 15 knots to do that efficiently.
Yeah,
and it works fine. Works fine. So, in hindsight, yes, we could have had symmetrical kites on board, but very often, if it's down to 10, 12 knots, the waves are still there and everything's just, it doesn't work. It goes too slow. So we need to change and get an angle.
You got to heat it up anyway.
Heat it up, yeah. And then we wanted Janak anyway.
How do you set the kites? Are they in a sock on a furler, or are they just old school? It's a big boat.
And we have one with a zipper system, on itself.
So kind of, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we have another one with a sock.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm asking all these technical questions because this is the kind of stuff we think about as well. And you have amateurs of different levels of experience that you got to kind of A, not break the people, and B, don't break the boat ideally. Do you have any examples of like people that have can you tell any stories over the seasons of specific people that have really made an impression on you one way or another through their growth as a person or the growth as a sailor? Did anybody walk away like, okay, I was not a sailor, now I am, I'm going to continue with this?
They will never be sailors when they step off the boat. They will be better at or really good at sailing this particular boat. Mm-hmm. But if you put them in another boat with different setup and they have no idea what they're doing, generally, or if you look at it from a generic way, the ones that improve the most, of course, they are the ones with the lowest level of experience and knowledge when they step onto the boat. The ones that have some experience, they are trickier actually because they think they know.
I agree 100%.
So it's all down to the personality in combination with the previous knowledge. Then you get the odd one that is an extremely good combination between previous knowledge and personality, such as Tarek Taylor. If I should mention
Yeah,
somebody.
I want you to name names here.
Yeah.
Actually, this is the point.
Same with Kristoffer Appelqvist.
Yeah.
Same thing with Susanne Reuter, because she wasn't a good sailor, and she still isn't a really good yachty or a sailor, but her personality and the way she contributed on the boat is absolutely fascinating. And we have had others that are not really willing to learn. They don't listen, they don't take on board what we said and try to analyze it and put it into different boxes so they can open them later. They put it in
because they think they know already, or
that too.
Yeah.
That too, or not just interested, and there for the wrong reason. That happens, but not it's not a big issue. It's not a big deal. It's not a disadvantage or anything. The group works, but I can see that they might not be there for the right reason.
So that's interesting. Why do you think they're there then? Like, what are they? I mean, I guess this is part of their careers as a TV personalities. It's a job for them, but like,
they want to do it. They want to tick in the box
to say they've done it.
Yeah. Which is all right for me.
Yeah.
It's fun. I can tell you that after having had 48 celebrities on the boat, on a boat, and on the boat, it's just been one fantastic, positive experience, because they are they're good guys, good people.
Do you get starstruck at all?
And the only time I've been not starstruck, but felt that that extra level of enthusiasm, is of course with Susanne Reuter. It's like winning the gold medal in sailing, spending 3 weeks with her. Fantastic.
Is there anybody that you
if you want me to single out somebody, but it's a very high level of should I say, humbleness within these people as well. And as I said before, they're in my backyard, so I don't necessarily have to be starstruck.
Yeah,
but I do have a lot of respect for what they have achieved.
Yeah,
and I'm interested in what they do, and it's such a privilege for me to be able to be in that position and have these encounters with them.
I mean, in your life and career, you'd never otherwise interact with people that do what they do, right?
No.
That's the interesting thing. What is there anybody that hasn't done it yet that you would be like, man, I'd really like them to be on the show, on the boat?
Yeah, of course. One is dead, unfortunately.
Who would that have been?
Astrid Lindgren.
Okay, yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
I have a few names.
Can you say?
No, I don't want to.
Okay. What do you do with the boat then? So now, because this show presumably is always the trade wind transatlantic route, and how do you decide? Because you finish in different ports, I think, a few times. We
finish when we do this winter trip, January, February. We always go to St. Martin.
Okay.
And when we do this, like we did last month, we go to Rio.
So you just completed a new season?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
The 8th season.
Okay, wow.
8.
And that was from the Canaries to Rio?
Yes.
So why? Why go there, and why do it this time of year? Because it's not really Atlantic crossing season.
It turned out to be such a, should I say, success, or the numbers were really good for Channel 5. So they said, when they canceled The Island a couple of years back.
This is the show.
Yeah, the show. They said, we need to fill this gap. Let's do another season within the same year do another season of Over Atlantic. So they called me and said, we want to do a crossing in August, September. I said, with this marina, it's not a good timing for me. So I said, nah, you can't sail to the West Indies during the hurricane season.
Right.
So I thought that was it.
That was it, yeah.
And then a few days later, they came back and said, so where can you go? And I, utopic, you say utopic?
Yeah, utopic, yeah.
Suggestion, I say, you can always go to Rio, expecting, no. And they all jumped up and down and said, yes. And I'm like, fuck. So there I was. I had to go.
Okay.
And now we've done 2 seasons to Rio.
So is the boat in Rio now?
It's on its way back.
Okay, so you bring it. That's what I was going to ask. Then what do you do? Does a delivery crew bring it back? Or?
Yeah. We go straight back to.
Have you ever has there ever been talk of doing the reverse, doing the Azores route?
The Finnish guys has done it, but there's no interest from the channel yet.
What do you think?
Why?
Well, it's more variety in weather, certainly.
It is, but the way we sail across to St. Martin in particular, we do not go down to the trade winds. We go great circle straight across. Whatever comes our way.
And is that so? So that begs the question: why is that? So you get a little more variety of weather.
The shortest distance.
Just the shortest distance.
Yeah. And some variety in it. It's very boring. Straight down to the Cape Verde and then across. Then what?
Well, that's kind of what I say when I explain to people what we do. I did the route from Cape Verde to Barbados in February earlier this year, and we didn't have a single drop of rain. We were like 6 days on the same tack with the jib pulled out. Yeah. Last 2 days with the kite, and it was a super easy. Nothing happened. That's how I like it for the business. That's what and that's what that trip was advertised as. Like, hey, this is the trade wind brochure. This is what you get. But I can't imagine it would have made a very good television show.
And that's another way of actually, not another way, but that's another reason why things happen on the boat. We get more challenges
because you get more challenging weather and stuff like that. Yeah,
we do.
Will this continue? Like, how far can you take this? I mean, 8 seasons. Now what?
I don't know. It's up to the channel. And
are you still interested in it? Like, is this still scratching an itch that you're happy to keep doing it?
This Friday, they decided on season 9.
Okay.
So January, February, I go again if they want me.
Yeah.
I think it's time to look for another skipper. Because it's going to take some time to find that individual. I will go as long as it's fun and my body says yes. And this last trip to Rio was quite brutal.
How so?
It was events that were
you'll see
took its toll on my body. Yeah.
So your boat is that the only thing you use that boat for? Do you ever take that boat sailing for fun?
No.
This is it.
Yeah. No, when it comes back up on the hard, that's where it is.
Prep for does that boat have like a crew that I mean, there's got to be a somewhat of a refit before the next one.
We did last year. We did a serious refit with the whole rig and everything. Spent big money.
Yeah,
and we have changed everything.
Who pays for that? Does the production company? You pay for that?
I pay for it.
Is it worth it? It must be.
I don't necessarily calculate that closely, but it's we almost make it, and the payback will be that the boat is in a better condition. Yeah. So increase the value, but we don't necessarily make a big profit, not at all, on the boat. And then I rent out myself through a different company. Yeah,
but I mean, presumably. You do this. It's a job. You're not doing this. You are getting paid. You're not doing this for the good of it, right?
No.
Would you do it anyway?
No.
It's not that much fun.
No, because then it's not a business agreement, and we cannot put demands. It will be a great sector that is much wider than it is today, and that's not a healthy situation. Yeah. So it has to be money has to change hands. Yeah. That's a more. Then it's easier to sort out who's going to do what and what the expectations are, and all that. So I would not do it if it had to be free. No, I wouldn't.
What's the next? As we wrap this up, you've got the next maybe Över Atlanten coming in January. Is there anything that you're like really looking forward to in your, with the marina, with your own stuff? What are the things that get you excited? Keep the money out of it, right? Like what are the things that get you super excited when it comes to sailing or boating in general?
Then I actually spend my time up in the air.
Okay.
I have had a pilot license since 1978, and I share a plane with a good friend.
Cool.
And we fly a lot. and that's my time. That's when I'm totally focused on one thing, nothing else.
Yeah.
And I'm drained and happy when I get there. It's really a lot of fun. So that's on a personal note. And if it comes down to work, marina, boats and everything else, we have quite good plans for how to develop this business and the area. So that's what I'm working with now to get more planning permissions and, develop the business, buy new things and make it go faster and higher if you want. So there are plans in place, but I don't want to detail them here on.
So most people your age are retired.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like you didn't mention that at all.
Why should I?
Well, that's the question. You seem to be happy with what you're doing.
I'm very happy.
Yeah.
And it's a privilege to be able to deliver those speeches as well, and people want me to come and have a chat, make presentations. So that's fun. Marina is fun. Over Atlanten is fun, and I have the time of my life. I work more than ever, but it's a lot of fun.
That's great. Cool. Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for the chat.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for listening to On the Wind. Thanks again to our sponsors, Forbes Yachts and SailTies. Check out Forbes Yachts at FORBES, ForbesYachts.com, and download the SailTies app in either the iOS or Android app stores. Until next time, hold fast. On the Wind is the podcast about sailing, created by 59 Degrees North and hosted by me, Andy Schell, and also by August Sandberg, Emma Garshagen, and occasionally Ben Doer. The show is mixed and produced in Frederick, Maryland by Lee Cumberland. Ads are read by us, the hosts, and occasionally by 59 North's bosun Adam Brown and podcast producer Lee Cumberland. Episode artwork and website show notes are done by Laura Parent in San Francisco. The intro theme music is composed and performed by former podcast guest and musician Cameron Dale, while the outro music you're hearing now is, of course, by our friends, the Storm Weather Shanty Choir. We love hearing from our fans, so send your questions and comments to holdfast@59-north.com, and please do us a favor and review the show on iTunes or wherever else you get your podcasts. Until next time, hold fast.
I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. As I was walking down the street, I met sweet Angeline. She said, "Come home with me, me lad, and we'll have a cracking time." But when I awoke, it was no joke. I found I was all alone. My silver watch and my money too, and my whole bloody gear was gone. Was gone, was gone. My whole bloody gear was gone. It was when I awoke, it was no joke, for my whole bloody gear was gone. As I was walking down the street, I met Big Rapper Brown. I asked him if he would take me in, and he looked at me with a frown. He said,
"Last time you was paid up with me, you took up no score. But I'll take your advance and I'll give you a chance to go to sea once more.
once more, once more. sea once more. I'll take your advance and I'll give you a chance to go to sea once more. Sometimes we're catching whales, me lads, but mostly we get none. With a 20-foot oar in every paw from 5 o'clock in the morn. And when daylight's gone and the night's coming on, we rest upon our oars. And oh boys, you wish that you was dead or snug with the girls ashore. Ashore, ashore, or snug with the girls ashore. Oh boys, you wish that you was dead or snug with the girls ashore. Come all you seafaring lads that listen to me song. When you go a big boating, boys, make sure you do not go wrong. You take my tip when you come off a trip, don't go with any horse, but get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more.